Since Johnny was announced as the winner of the defamation suit against Amber Heard, the actress's people have been parading around interviews making wild claims. And although many people have ignored most of those claims, the one they couldn't get past was her statement that her loss meant a loss for every woman. So, what exactly has made people pique an interest in this case? Immediately after the jury made the announcement that Johnny Depp had won the case against Amber Heard, the actress took to Instagram to release a statement concerning her loss. In the statement, the actress claimed that she was disappointed with what this verdict meant for other women. She continued stating, "It is a setback. It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously." She also claims that the mountain of evidence wasn't enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of her ex-husband. This statement is such a slap in the face to real survivors of abuse. If anyone has set true victims back, it's Amber Heard. This case exposes major errors in the court of public opinion and media smear campaigns that run with guilty until proven innocent sentiments. There was no mountain of evidence as she and her lawyers claimed. We were told she had brutal injuries such as broken ribs, a broken nose, a split lip, black eyes, and cuts on her back and feet. We were provided with no corroborating photographs of these injuries, no medical reports, and conflicting eyewitness reports. What little photo evidence we did have was manipulated and put through a photo editor so it can't be corroborated as authentic, and this is the evidence that's supposed to destroy a man's life. Besides all of that, the actress also claimed that she was sexually assaulted with a potentially broken bottle that didn't require medical attention, and that she didn't recall feeling pain. No evidence has been presented to corroborate this story, and if it even happened the way she described, it would have required emergency medical treatment. Heard's allegations against Depp have been wild and unsubstantiated. They have only grown more outrageous as time went on, adding new accounts of violence that were never previously reported, such as the rape by bottle incident. But while these are her claims, the most damning evidence presented in court was that of the audio recordings, which exposed the relationship for what it was, and that was Heard repeatedly acting aggressive, degrading Depp, admitting to physically abusing him, and shaming him for always running away. These are also some of the reasons why true victims of domestic violence and sexual assault have overwhelmingly sided with Depp. The fact is that they recognize the signs of narcissistic abuse reflected in the relationship, but not on Depp's part. There were countless eyewitnesses, including police officers trained to respond to situations of domestic violence, who say Heard had no bruises when they saw her after the alleged abuse, and they did not believe her to be a victim of domestic violence. The only recorded medical injury throughout the relationship was sustained by Depp, whose finger was cut off. Now, the basis of almost every conversation online is whether this will serve as a lesson on the presumption of innocence of women. The reason this is of so much concern is that mainstream media has gaslit male victims of abuse as well as those who have been falsely accused for years. And a perfect example of this was the Washington Post being complicit in Depp's defamation, as they posted the op-ed Heard wrote accusing him of being an abuser without knowing the intimate details or legitimacy of those claims. Because of the complexities of everything that's happened, several fans have also been giving their opinion on the subject. One user wrote, "Women are lucky these days to have organizations and movements to help boost their voice. I didn't have that and was never able to speak out against my abusers. I knew I wouldn't be believed. Now she is threatening that." Another user wrote, "She took a victims' rights movement and used it for petty revenge, not justice. Now that same movement is doubling down and supporting the abuser based on gender bias because the victim doesn't for their narrative for monetization and self-congratulations." And with the way things are in the world right now, it might be difficult for this narrative to shift, especially with Depp's legal team also making several wild statements like her lead counsel recently did when she said,
Amber's reaction to the verdict yesterday, this seems to be a huge victory for Johnny Depp this morning.
Yeah, a major setback for women inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom.
Because?
Because basically what this said, Amber had an enormous amount of evidence, although a lot of it was suppressed in this case as opposed to the UK. But look at all the women who have no evidence. All these women who suffer from domestic violence, domestic abuse, they don't have evidence. And basically what this jury said is unless you pull out your cell phone and you tape record your spouse beating you.
While this says a lot about Amber and her people, which if we're being honest isn't exactly passing the best message, it's basically said the same thing as her statement after the case was concluded. This was unlike Johnny's statement, which was simply centered around proving the truth, although it is unspoken. But there are several subtle messages that this case has passed. Tell us, did you also notice some of these subtle messages?